All right, everybody. This is the Horn Takes podcast, your very rough around the edges Texas sports talk destination. I'm your host, Sean Redfern. It's Wednesday, and we are off to some high school baseball tournament action this weekend. We've also got our glasses off. Guys, I wore sunglasses on TikTok 2 years ago as like kind of a joke, like as a, I don't know, like a novelty type thing. And so many people gave so many like ridiculous reactions to me wearing sunglasses that I just kind of kept wearing sunglasses. Uh, I think it's time to grow up, and I'm not going to wear sunglasses probably anymore on my live streams. I may probably still wear them outside. I don't know if that's acceptable anymore. Although I do find it funny that I got a lot of heat from a lot of people that really, really love Deion Sanders for wearing sunglasses inside, which I thought was ironic and hilarious. Anyway, we're sunglassless. We're going to talk about those Hardwood Horns today. We're going to talk some Texas baseball. They've got a series and a midweek under their belt to start the 2024 season. We can talk about professional all-star games and how they suck, I guess. And then Sark gets paid, man. Wow, did he get paid? Good for Sark. We'll talk more about the details on that. Check us out on Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, at Horn Takes. You can listen to the podcast at horntakespodcast.buzzsprout.com, or you can go over to YouTube, and there's actually a section in YouTube. It's been there for a while. I upload all of the audio that goes to that Buzzsprout account to YouTube podcasts, which is kind of weird to me because they don't really treat it like a podcast that I'm aware of. It still shows up as a video. There's just a big like picture there instead of me talking. If you like to listen, watch me talk, I'm cool with that. That's on YouTube as well. Other than that, you can find us on Apple Podcast. You can find us on Spotify. You can find us on there's another one. I don't care. Doesn't matter. Hardwood Horns, 17-9 after the weekend and the early week matchup. They're still 6-7, below 500 in the Big 12. They go on the road and just get absolutely smashed by Houston, who's a really, really good basketball team. They're ranked number 2. A lot of people across the country think they are the best team in basketball right now. I don't know about that. I just know they trounced the shit out of Texas, 82-61 down there in Houston. That just kind of shows you how basketball goes, man. Like, Texas played a really, really good game against Houston at home at the Mooney Center. Really probably should have won that game. I think they outplayed them during the regular portion of the game, during regulation, for the most part of the game. Just it got tied at the end, and then in overtime, Houston just did what Houston does. Still a close game. But yeah, one that Texas probably wishes they had back because they went on the road and just got stomped. Houston's going to do that to a lot of people. Again, they've got really good guards. They're a really physical team. It is what it is. We didn't expect Texas to win that game. Then they were back at home Monday night, and they got a really ugly win against K-State, 62-56. To us, this was a must win. We were looking at the schedule last week, and we said they've got 3 home games to go. They've got to win. They have to, 100% have to win all 3 of those home games. I think if they don't win those home games, the away games are too rough on them. I don't think they're going to have enough victories at the end of the season, and I don't think they're going to get into the tournament. Now, there are 5 games to go. They got 2 home games left, and I think they need to win them all. They've got Oklahoma State, and they've got Oklahoma to end the season, the last regular season game there at the Moody Center. On the road, they got KU, Tech, and Baylor. We all know KU is going to be good. Tech's already beat them. They did beat Baylor. Can they do it a second time? And can they do it up in Waco? I don't know. Personally, I'm not counting any of those. I would be really surprised if Texas wins any of those games. But I think they have to win at least one of those games, or I don't think they're going to get in the tournament. We said they needed 4 of the remaining 7. They had to beat K-State. They did. The last 2 weekends, we said they've got to do X to stay in the hunt here, and they've done it. Now they need 3 of 5, and again, 3 of those games are on the road. The 3 games that are on the road are the 3 toughest teams left on the schedule. I could see Texas winning both of those home games realistically. I think those are much more likely wins than them going on the road. I think they lose a game at home and it's done. They're out of the tournament. That's just I'm not an expert. I'm not a bracketologist. I'm none of those things. I just think if you can't win at home against bad teams, you're not going to go win neutral site games against good teams. And maybe it's not that simple, but that's how my simple mind works. And then again, even if they do win those games, I still think they got to steal one on the road, man. It's just hard for me to see this team who's been really struggling a lot offensively lately, like bad. 60 points roughly their last 2 games. Oh, by the way, we went live way early, like super way early. Like we were supposed to go at 2. I got to get on the road though, so we're doing it at before 1. Y'all just have to deal with it. All 1.3 of my subscribers will be disappointed that they're not getting to see this live. So yeah, they start on the road against KU this Saturday, 5 p.m. Central Time on ESPN. I don't know. We know what they got to do, though. They got to win the 2 games at home, and they got to win one of these last 3 on the road. Let's see if they can do it. We wish them all the luck in the world. It's kind of interesting because they're playing their asses off to get in, probably just to get clown stomped in the first or second round by a really good basketball team. I don't know. Texas baseball, we've been wanting it all year. Finally here. Kind of a rough opening series. I mean, they won it 2-1. You cannot be mad at that. You can't be mad at winning your first series. Matter of fact, in baseball, if you can just consistently win series, it doesn't matter really who you're playing against. You can consistently do that. I think you're a good team, and I think you're the type of team that can run through, the postseason, get hot. We see that all the time. There's always at least one team that was probably pretty good most of the season, but nobody thought, they would make a lot of waves in the tournament. They get hot at the right time. And we saw that with Fresno State a few years ago, and they won the whole damn thing. They scored 800 points a game, 800 runs a game in that College World. It was absolutely amazing to watch that team hit. And I'm probably way over exaggerating that. I know I am. I did it intentionally. Anyway, kind of a rough opening series for Texas against San Diego. Lots of walks by the pitching staff. They just never really looked healthy, never looked comfortable. Healthy's not the word. Comfortable. Of course, Tanner Witt was a guy we talked about last week. We said, man, can he kind of return to that form that he had before his arm injury? We haven't seen it yet. And I don't know that means we won't ever see it, but we have not seen it yet at a Tanner Witt. And that's going to be tough. Texas really needs, when you have a young team and you got a team that's inexperienced, which I think Texas is a good mix. So they've got some of the older guys that have some experience, but they've got a lot of young, talented guys that don't have a lot of experience. It's going to take a while for those bats to come around and be consistent. So the pitching really has to be good. And I thought it was okay. There was a couple games where I thought it was really good. And then there was the one they lost, and it wasn't that bad. It went into extra innings. They only ended up giving up 6 runs. I think for me, it's just kind of the situational stuff and the walks, man. The walks just absolutely walks grind my gears, man. I cannot do walks. If you are 18 to 21 years old, you're on a D1 baseball team, you should be able to throw strikes. And I know if people are going to have an off day. I'm not talking about that. I know there's just a lot of factors, right? And I know these guys try to pitch around people. I'm not talking about I'm sure these guys at any time could just juice one right down the middle, right? They got to make good pitches. But I almost think if you're on the verge of walking people, or you have been walking people, make them make a play. Even if you groove it, there's no guarantee that ball is getting hit and play in a way that you can't get an out necessary. I don't think every single Division I hitter, if you just freaking groove one, is going to take that out at a very high percentage at all. And I'm talking about some of the best ones. I know most of them aren't going to do that. Even the best ones are not going to do that every time. So the pitching, I think, it's early, super early. Don't take any of this the wrong way. Matter of fact, and we'll talk about this in a minute. Bats were just not very good in that series. They were okay. Lots of strikeouts. Not very good timely hit. In fact, the reason they won games is because of big home runs. And it almost took them one. They almost had one that got them the sweep. Peyton Powell mashed one down the right field line. It was a foul by maybe 5 feet that would have ended the game in that one. But yeah, the bats just didn't look great, which, again, it's baseball. It's early. These guys haven't been going up against live pitching other than their own pitching staff, more than likely. It's okay. And there were a lot of Texas fans that were just really, really upset about going 2-1. It was kind of interesting. And again, we'll talk some more about that a little later. They did bounce back last night offensively against Houston Christian. I don't know how good Houston Christian is. I thought it was Houston Baptist like halfway through the game. I go, oh shit, that's Houston Christian. I suspect they're not that great, but that's okay. The bats absolutely came alive. 24 hits. They were 1 hit shy of tying the all-time record for hits in a game by University of Texas Longhorns. They won the game 20-3. At one point, they had like 6 doubles. I don't know. That number probably got bigger. They hit a couple home runs, 3 home runs, matter of fact, that I can think of right off the top of my head. Really good performance. I thought, they started off a little slow again. The top of the lineup kind of looked iffy in that first at bat. And then the bottom half of actually, like 4 through 6 kind of got into it pretty quick after that. And then it was just like, hitting's contagious. That's a saying in baseball. It was contagious last night. A lot of young guys got a chance to play. Pierce was able to kind of empty the benches and get a lot of these freshmen out there on the field, get them a chance to play, get them some at bats, get them some experience. And they were all hitting the ball. Like everybody was hitting the ball. I haven't looked at it to make sure everybody got a hit, but like if you were watching the game, it was kind of ridiculous. It was almost like batting practice. And then the other side of it too was, man, Houston Christian just had this one little stretch where they absolutely struggled to just field balls cleanly. It was pretty rough. It was pretty bad to watch. It reminded me a lot of like a high school baseball game where you could see like talent, but also they just weren't executing. That's what Houston Christian looked like to me defensively in this one little short stretch where Texas kind of blew the game open. Saw some young pitchers, Easton Toomas, Hudson Hamilton. Those guys combined for 3 hits over 4 1/3 innings, 7 strikeouts, only 4 walks. Not great, but not bad either. Again, this is these guys' first chance to be on the mound as a Texas Longhorn. Saw some old guys as well. Luke Harrison, who was hurt, did not pitch at all in 2023. Tommy John Deal, just like Tanner Witt. He comes back in, gets his first start. 1 2/3, 3 walks. Didn't look great. Got pulled pretty quickly. I think that was more of a precautionary type thing. Like, let's not get this guy's arm in a bad way this early in the season. And then we saw big Andre Duplantier, and I call him big. I don't think he was ever small necessarily, but that dude looks like he's been eating and lifting a lot. He is jacked now, big, like a big. I would be interested to know how much weight he put on in the offseason, because to me, he looks like a completely different dude. He had 2 innings, gave up a hit, 1 walk, 3 Ks, looked pretty good up on the mound. Andre Duplantier is one of those guys that, to me, has kind of, I think he's got physical tools a lot like LeBaron Johnson Jr., but it's never clicked for him. A couple seasons ago, Andre Duplantier was like a home run machine in the bad way. Like, he gave up a ton of home runs in midweek games. But he looked really good last night. Cade O'Hara, we had a Cade O'Hara sighting on the mound. He closed it out with a 1 strikeout performance in the top of the 9th. He looked pretty good. Cade O'Hara rocking the 90s, man. I don't know if that means he's like a permanent pitcher now. I'm assuming so. Notable absence during this weekend series. and this midweek was Duke transfer. Forgot his first name, but Oliveras, the guy that he's out of California, big left-handed kid. Was like the top, like one of the top pitchers, one of the top left-handed pitchers in his class in high school. Goes to Duke, doesn't play. Comes to Texas, hasn't seen the field yet. I don't know what's going on with that. If anybody out there knows, please let me know. To me, it's just odd that he was that highly touted and couldn't go to Duke and get any playing time. And I kind of just assumed maybe that's a Duke thing. They don't play a lot of freshmen. Very high academic standards there at Duke. So I don't know. But now he's at Texas, which also has high academic standards. Don't get me wrong, but he's had a year of college under his belt. You would think if the talent was there, he would be out on the field. So I don't know. That one's weird to me. Again, we talked about all the freaking out about the fan. I mean, there was people like on Twitter saying crazy shit like, man, we should win every game until the Minute Maid Invitational or whatever the hell that shit's called down in Houston the weekend of March 1st. Just really like, oh, this team is trash. Like, oh, the men's basketball team, now the men's baseball team. And listen, it didn't look pretty over the weekend at all. But I mean, god dang, man, they play like 50 something games. I mean, it was so bad that even normal types of comments on Twitter were like drawing all kinds of ire. Like right after the series win, I made a tweet. I said something like, man, that was really gross series, but 2-1's a start. 2-1 is a good start. This team looks like a work in progress, but a lot of times those teams turn out good. We've seen David Pierce do the same thing. So I felt like the overall tone of the tweet was pretty positive, but this dude like immediately just jumps my ass. Says what's gross is fans like you that I don't even remember exactly what he said, but I'm like, dude, it kind of caught me off guard because I didn't intend to be negative at all. To me, gross just means like ugly, right? Like it was ugly. I'm not saying that's bad. I will take ugly wins all day long. Wins are wins. If you can consistently win ugly, there ain't a damn thing in the world wrong with that. But anyway, this guy like really hated it. Some other guy didn't like it. I don't know, man. Texas fans are a funny bunch. I think you just got to trust the process, though, with this baseball team. Like I said, 50 games is a long time. Baseball is a streaky sport anyway. You're not going to see guys come out generally, and well, you will. And these are called like Major League Baseball All-Stars. They consistently hit the ball. They consistently are good on the mound. If they're in the lineup, they consistently play good defense. They do all those things that like we look at and look so easy. They make them look so easy, but man, baseball is hard. So I am not worried about this Texas team at all. That doesn't mean in 5-6 weeks I may not be worried about this Texas team, but right now they are 3-1. They got some good experience. They got some games under their belt, and they're going to do the same thing this weekend, and it may be ugly again this weekend. But you guess what? 2-1 at the end of this weekend. We're good, man. Y'all need to settle down out there in Longhorn world. I want this team to be more aggressive at the plate. I see a lot of first pitch strike takes, and I know they're just the guy's not geared up to swing. He's absolutely not swinging. You can tell. They don't even move. You load and you get ready, and you usually have to. I mean, these dudes are throwing 90 miles an hour. You got to start your hands and start your swing, and then you pull back. These guys aren't even doing that. They're just watching the first pitch, and I think a more aggressive hitting team is a better hitting team. I just don't understand. I mean, if that guy's going to come up there and groove a fastball first pitch every single time, I do not understand why you are not hacking at that. And I don't understand. And this has been a complaint of mine about Pierce for a while. I think it's just part of his philosophy. And you can tell with certain guys, it's not that way. But other guys on the team, it is. But to me, I want my guys hacking. If they're throwing strikes, let's get the bat moving through the zone. And if we don't hit it, that's our bad. But you know what? we don't gain. I don't feel like you gain anything by watching a pitch that's a strike at all. You just go, yeah, you just threw me a strike. But you haven't moved your hands. You haven't gone through your swing. You don't know if you miss it. You don't know how. You don't know if you were too early. You don't know if you were too late. You know none of that shit unless you swing the bat. I don't think you learn a lot, again, watching strikes go over the plate. Cal Poly will be in town this weekend, Friday at 6:30 p.m., Saturday at 1:30 p.m., and then Sunday at 1 p.m. All the games will be on Longhorn Network or the Longhorn Radio Network. Sunday's game will be tape delayed. I have no idea why. I think they said last night on the broadcast it's like 11 p.m. or something. They're going to show that game. There must be something else going on in Texas sports that I just don't know about. That's keeping them from showing that. Maybe the girls softball or something's in like a mega tournament. I have no idea. By the way, the ladies softball team has started out the season on a tear. I know I get beat up by some of the ladies on TikTok because I don't talk about women's sports that much. Very rarely. I'm sorry, ladies. I don't even know what to say. I'm a bad person. But the ladies softball team is doing a really, really good job. They've already got 2 like top 10 wins. So yeah, they're looking really good. Maybe that's what's going on. I don't know. But there's your Texas baseball. Not worried. You shouldn't be worried. They'll be all right. All-star games, man. Professional all-star type games. Geez, they're a joke. Man, I've never been a real big fan of them because I always just felt like there was a massive lack of effort in these games. I don't think they give a damn about being there. They're more of a obligation that these guys have to do. And I just always thought they were pointless. They don't try hard. It's not fun to watch. But I feel like we're at an absolute 100% whole new low now. Now, I didn't watch the NBA All-Star game because I haven't watched NBA as a rule in a very, very, very long time. Like going back to, man, like Michael Jordan, Shaq, that time frame, that era. It sucks. It is fucking terrible to watch. So I didn't know this happened until I don't know, I saw a tweet or something. The NBA All-Star game just happened, and these jackasses played to a 211 to 186 point game. These dudes were taking shots from half court. I mean, come on, man. The dudes are just standing there like there is no defense at all. You might as well. I'm not at a loss for words much, but I just don't understand it. I don't understand why that's fun. I don't understand why people watch it. I don't understand why people pay money to go see it. It's terrible. The NHL has done. I don't know how long they've been doing this. They did some kind of weird ass 2-period 4-team playoff shit for their All-Star. They didn't even actually play an All-Star game. They broke up the All-Stars into 4 different teams. 4 different teams? 3 different teams. No, 4 different teams. And played 2 play-in games and then a final. What? I was about to, as I was thinking about doing this, I was going to brag on the NHL and go, those guys go and play. But you know what? If you're having to resort to gimmicky shit that isn't even your sport, I mean, what is that? That's not hockey. If you're having to do that, that means you're losing fans. And that means your product sucks ass. NFL's playing flag football for the Pro Bowl. What? Like, it costs fans a premium to go to this shit. The least they could do is play the actual game, play the sport that you're an all-star for, and play it at like I mean, I'm not saying you go out there and crush each other and, you know, I mean, I get it. It's not a real game. But my God, like put forth some effort. And if you're not going to, just stop doing it. Just quit playing the game. Just be done with it. Sark's getting paid, y'all. 4-year extension. He's the third highest paid head coach in college football now. $10.3 million a year. This man's going to get $100K increases every year until the contract matures in what, 2030? Maybe it's a 6-year deal. Maybe it must be a 6-year deal. No, it's a 4-year extension. He's still got 2 years on his deal. That's what it is. I don't know if you've ever, I mean, 10 million, if people throw that out there and go $10 million, man, that's a lot of money. Everybody knows it's a lot of money. But I don't know how many people actually sit down and like think about, like I get paid every 2 weeks. I get paid 26 times a year, every 2 weeks. If you took $10.3 million and paid it out like that, that is $396,000 a pay period. That is fucking absurd. And I will say it. I'll say it in a minute, but that's crazy. That is a crazy amount of money. There's $1.85 million in annual incentives in this contract. $300K for conference championship, $250K for reaching a playoff, $500K for reaching a playoff quarterfinal, $750K for reaching a semifinal, $1 million for reaching the final, and $1.25 for winning the whole damn thing. There's a $300,000 per year like coaching bonus type thing in there. Like you win like some coaching award, you get $300K. You don't, he does. He's got use of a private jet for 20 personal hours a year, 2 dealer cars, I'm assuming for him and his wife, all kinds of suite and ticket availability stuff. He gets a suite for every game. He gets tickets to all these games. So Sark is like rolling in it. I mean, I think he got like he was at like 3 million before, I believe, 3 or 5, something, 3 to 5, somewhere around in there. He more than doubled his salary, and it was already pretty good. Like I would be okay with that salary. And the other cool thing is he made sure they took care of his assistants. You know, Pete Kwiatkowski, Kyle Flood, Banks, they all got taken care of. And by the way, he was already taking care of them pretty well. Those dudes, they're all north of $1 million. And I think most of them are north of, they're north of $1.25 million. So they're doing okay. Coaching. So I said earlier, like coaching salaries are absolutely insane, man. I'm going to say something that's probably going to piss a lot of people off. There is no way a coach is worth that much money. And listen to me. What I'm saying is, it is crazy to pay a coach that much money. I get why you have to. That's the other side of this argument. I get why you have to, because if you don't, they're going to go somewhere where someone will. But it is, I mean, that is crazy. $10 million a year. I mean, what are we doing? What are we doing? And I am like a capitalist out the ass. Like I'm not one of these, you know, let's redistribute wealth. And I'm not one of those dudes. I mean, I think it's nuts what's happened to coaching salaries really in just like the last few years. Like I remember when Mac Brown was making like, man, I want to say it was like $3.5 million a year or something. Like I was like, holy shit. Like he makes $3.5 million a year. That's nothing. At some point, it's going to have to burst, right? Like the bubble will have to burst on that. There's no way people can continue to pay those types of salaries, right? Anyway, I'm happy for Sark. I'm happy for his staff. They all deserve it, I guess. Like, I mean, in terms of the market, I think the market's crazy. That's what I should say. The market is just stupid. These guys, I don't have any ill will towards them. They're just playing in the game. They're playing the market. They definitely deserve to get some pay raise because that was a hell of a year they had last season. And I think the roster is such that they're going to have another good season this year. We'll have to see. But yeah, man, Sark banking. Texas got him on the cheap. And you knew this was part of the plan, right? That let's get him on the cheap because this is his first head coaching job since all the, personal matters he had. But if he does well, we're going to have to pay him. And boy, have they paid him. So congrats to Sark. Congrats to the rest of those guys. Peanut scandal at Lake Travis High School. I got to talk about this. So for those of y'all that haven't heard, which I don't know how you haven't, there's a player on the Lake Travis High School football team that is allergic to peanuts. And this group of other players went up and asked him, like, what happens if you eat peanuts or get near peanuts or, could you die? Something along those lines. He says, yeah, I could die. So like the next day or, I don't know the exact timeline on all this, but he shows up to his locker and they had stuffed peanuts in his, I'm assuming like in his cleats or, inside of his shoulder pad, stuff like, where you couldn't like see peanuts, because I think if he's that allergic to peanuts, he looks at his locker, maybe even opens the locker. I know our lockers were like expanded metal. They were really nice. They had expanded metal so you could see through them. I don't know what his looked like. Point being, if he has to open a door, it was such a way that he didn't see peanuts. So he starts going through his, grabbing his stuff, and that's when he realizes, oh my God, there's peanuts and all this shit. So, he, of course, if you're that allergic to peanuts, it doesn't take long for that reaction to start. I don't know all the story about what sort of medical treatment he had to get or anything like that. But this thing happens. He reports it or someone reports it. And then these kids start retaliating against him for reporting them. And they do more peanuts in his locker and all kinds of other bullying and bullshit. The school doesn't do anything about it. The athletic department doesn't do anything about it. And so basically, this hazing that, and I here's another thing. I'm not like one of these like overly sensitive people either. Like, I think we should bring ass kickings back to school and stop stop sending kids to jail for getting in a fist fight. Stop sending kids to jail that are just protecting themselves or just, sticking up for themselves. People are lazy and they want to go from one extreme to the other. The extreme used to be, oh, you could get in that type of fight and, you might get licks back in the day. Like when I grew up, you might go to some kind of Saturday suspension or in-house school suspension, but you didn't get arrested. And now it's just like we have a no tolerance policy because there's all these gang violences, and there's a difference between two dudes or two ladies tossing hands at each other because they've got a dispute, or one kid was picking on the other, and like an all-out brawl between two gangs. To me, like smart people, educated people should be able to differentiate between that. But that's the reason for the arrest thing that you got today, trying to stem the gang violence, right? So I don't know how I got off on this tangent. So anyway, this kid, all the shit's going on. Nobody does anything about it. They don't get held accountable. Well, it comes out that one of the kids that was part of this group is a very highly rated defensive line prospect. And matter of fact, he has a visit to Texas coming up. Well, when all this comes out, a lot of Texas fans are like calling for Sark to like just kind of cancel the recruitment. Like, don't recruit this kid. And I got to say, I don't disagree with that one single bit. Like, the question is, do they keep pursuing this guy? And listen, I know kids make mistakes. Kids do dumb shit. I look back at my childhood and my, teenage years, and I tell my wife this all the time. I go, like, I am crazy lucky just to be here. I did a lot of dumb shit. And you see it in other people's lives. Like, I mean, there's kids that like tump over a freaking golf cart and they're dead. I mean, you know how many times we flip four-wheelers and freaking crash motorcycles? And I mean, we did a lot of dumb shit. And we could have just as easily died. But the thing is, we didn't think any of that stuff was dangerous. Like, we didn't think we were going to die. doing any of those things. So kids just don't. I think it's kind of a general rule, like especially young boys, they just don't grasp the concept of mortality until they get a little bit older. But to me, man, like they asked the kid, how sick is this going to make you? Like, how sick would this make you? Could you die from that? And they did it anyway. And to me, that's not thinking about something. That's like intent. Like he told you this is what could happen to me, and you did it anyway. I personally feel like all of that group, whoever was involved in that, should be brought up on some sort of charges. I don't know what those charges would be in Texas, but they should get brought up on charges. And if they get convicted, they should have to deal with the consequences of those charges. And I certainly do not feel like Texas football should be recruiting this kid anymore. I mean, God, there's a difference in some mistakes. There's like, you can't do that. I mean, I don't want to call it like attempted murder. I feel like it's shy of that, but man, the dude told you he could get really sick and die, and you threw peanuts in his locker anyway. It'll be interesting to see what happens with this. Like with everything, you've got multiple, arguments. You've got your people on one side that, oh, they're just kids, to which I will say, like, kids just being kids doesn't do it for me in this case. Like egging a house, wrapping a house. Okay. That's kids being kids. Is it good behavior? Absolutely not. Is it forgivable behavior? I believe so. You make them come clean it up. You do whatever punishment fits the crime, right? But we're talking about they could have killed this kid. And they knew they could have killed this kid. So you've got both sides of the argument amongst Texas fans. I'll just put it, and I know nobody gives a shit, but I will be really disappointed if Texas continues to pursue this kid. I think somebody else will give him a chance, and maybe he's learned his lesson. He'll go on and, get straight or whatever. And I don't even know the kid. He may be a great kid. He just made a really stupid decision. And sometimes when you make really stupid decisions, there are really big consequences for those really stupid decisions. So there you go. That's the peanut scandal at Lake Travis High School down in Austin. Check us out next week. We'll talk about those Hardwood Horns again. Did they stay alive for the tournament? That's every week now. Are they staying alive? I don't know. I don't think they're going to stay alive. And then we'll talk about the baseball team. They got a series with Cal Poly and then with St. John's before they head down to Houston for the Astros Foundation Baseball Classic. That'll be a good one. LSU's going to be there. Vanderbilt's going to be there. Texas State's going to be there. Check out the podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts. Check us out on Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube at Horn Takes. Follow and subscribe, guys. Will not cost you guys a thing. We sure appreciate the support. You can email me at horntakespodcast@gmail.com with all your questions, comments, concerns, and criticisms. I love them all. It's my weekend now. You guys get hooked. Y'all have a good rest of the week. Have a good weekend.